September 22nd, 1988. The Unforgiven set outside Sonora, California. Rising star Bradley Morrison was screaming at cinematographer Jack Green because a lighting setup was taking longer than Morrison wanted, calling the veteran crew member incompetent and threatening to have him fired for wasting everyone's time. What happened next would become legendary in Hollywood circles, not because Clint Eastwood raised his voice, but because his response was so surgically precise that Bradley Morrison's career would be effectively over before the sun set on the Sierra Nevada mountains. Within 6 months, Morrison would be unemployable in major motion pictures. Within 2 years, he would understand exactly why disrespecting the hardworking people who make movies possible was the biggest mistake an actor could make. This is the story of what happens when entitlement meets experience, and why some lessons about respect can only be learned through complete professional destruction. Bradley Morrison was 24 years old and had appeared in 3 successful films when he was cast in a supporting role in Unforgiven. He had developed a reputation as Hollywood's newest bad boy, known for his good looks, natural acting ability, and increasingly difficult behavior on film sets. Bradley was talented but completely spoiled, recalled assistant director Scott Eastwood. He thought his success gave him the right to treat crew members like servants instead of the skilled professionals they are. The incident that would end Morrison's career began during a complex outdoor scene that required precise lighting coordination. Cinematographer Jack Green, a veteran with over 20 years of experience, was working with his crew to set up equipment for a sunset shot that would only be available for about 30 minutes. Jack was one of the most respected cinematographers in the business, explained camera operator Stephen Campanelli. He was meticulous, professional, and completely dedicated to getting every shot perfect. The lighting setup was taking longer than usual because of changing weather conditions and the technical complexity of the scene. Morrison, who had been waiting in his trailer, came out to check on the delay and immediately began complaining. "What's taking so long?" Morrison demanded. "We should have been rolling 20 minutes ago." Jack Green looked up from adjusting a reflector. "We're dealing with some challenging lighting conditions, Mr. Morrison. It'll be ready in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes? This is ridiculous. How hard is it to point some lights at me?" The dismissive tone immediately put the entire crew on edge, but Green remained professional. "Mr. Morrison, we want to make sure the lighting is perfect for your scene. These setups take time to get right." That's when Morrison revealed the arrogance that would destroy his career. "Look, old man, I don't need you to explain filmmaking to me. I need you to do your job faster. Time is money, and you're wasting both." The crew exchanged glances of disbelief, but Green continued working without responding to the insult. Morrison wasn't finished. "Maybe you're getting too old for this job. Maybe we need someone who can work at professional speed instead of retirement home pace." Jack Green, a man who had lit scenes for some of the greatest films ever made, quietly continued his work, while Morrison's verbal abuse continued. "And another thing, your crew is moving like they're getting paid by the hour instead of trying to get this shot done. Maybe you need to teach them what real work looks like." What Morrison didn't know was that Clint Eastwood had been watching this entire exchange from about 20 feet away, and his expression was growing colder with every insult Morrison delivered. Clint walked over slowly, his presence immediately commanding attention from everyone on set. "Bradley," Clint said quietly, "I want you to repeat what you just said to Jack." Morrison, suddenly aware that the director had been listening, tried to backtrack. "Mr. Eastwood, I was just expressing some concerns about the pace of production." "No," Clint interrupted, his voice still calm but carrying unmistakable authority. "You called Jack an old man. You said he was getting too old for his job. You insulted his crew's work ethic. I want you to repeat those exact words." The entire set had gone silent, with crew members stopping their work to watch this confrontation. "Mr. Eastwood, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Bradley, everyone here heard exactly what you said. The question is whether you have the character to own your words, or if you're going to try to lie your way out of this." Morrison looked around nervously, realizing that dozens of crew members were watching him face the consequences of his behavior. "I may have spoken hastily." "You spoke truthfully," Clint replied. "You revealed exactly what you think of the people who make your career possible." What Clint said next would be remembered by everyone on that set for the rest of their career. "Bradley, let me educate you about something. Jack Green has lit more great films than you've probably watched. He's worked with directors who were legends when you were in diapers. He's forgotten more about cinematography than you'll ever learn about acting. Clint's voice remained calm, but the authority behind it was absolute. And his crew? These are craftsmen and artists who have dedicated their lives to making actors like you look good on screen. They work longer hours than you do, for less money than you make, and they do it because they love what they do. Morrison tried to interrupt, but Clint continued without pause. When you insult Jack, you insult 20 years of experience and excellence. When you insult his crew, you insult the people who will determine whether your performance looks professional or amateurish. But most importantly, when you show disrespect to hard-working people who are trying to help you succeed, you reveal something about your character that no amount of talent can overcome. The judgment in Clint's voice was unmistakable. You're fired, Bradley. Get your things and leave this set. You don't belong around professionals. Morrison's face went pale. Mr. Eastwood, you can't fire me. I have a contract. I can and I will. And you know what your contract says about professional conduct and maintaining set discipline. You violated both. This is about one argument. This isn't about an argument, Bradley. This is about respect. And you just demonstrated that you don't have any for the people who make movies possible. As security escorted Morrison off the set, Clint addressed the entire crew. Ladies and gentlemen, I want everyone to know that what just happened here is not acceptable on any set I direct. Every person working on this film deserves respect, regardless of their job title or how long they've been in the business. Jack, I apologize that you had to experience that kind of treatment. You and your crew do exceptional work, and anyone who doesn't recognize that doesn't deserve to work with you. The applause from the crew was spontaneous and heartfelt. That moment defined everything about working with Clint, recalled gaffer Ron Fortuna. He showed us that he valued the people who do the work, not just the people who get the credit. The story of Morrison's firing spread through Hollywood within days. Word got out immediately that Bradley Morrison had been fired by Clint Eastwood for disrespecting crew members. Explained entertainment journalist Nikki Finke. In an industry that depends on crew loyalty and professional relationships, that was career suicide. But the consequences went far beyond just losing one job. Other directors and producers began hearing about Morrison's attitude toward crew members, and his reputation as someone who was difficult to work with began to spread. Nobody wanted to hire an actor who would create problems with crew, explained casting director Molly Finn. Crew members talk to each other across productions, and if they say someone is disrespectful, that person becomes unemployable. Morrison tried to salvage his career by apologizing publicly and claiming he had been under stress, but the damage was done. Bradley's apology felt hollow because everyone knew it was motivated by career concerns, not genuine remorse, observed industry veteran Stacy Keach. More damaging was the reaction from other crew members throughout the industry. Stories started coming out about Bradley's behavior on other sets, recalled script supervisor Carla Corwin. It turned out that disrespecting Jack Green wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern. Within 6 months, Morrison's agent dropped him. Within a year, he couldn't get meetings with major casting directors. Within 2 years, he was doing independent films for scale wages. Bradley went from being a rising star to being a cautionary tale about how quickly disrespecting crew can end your career, observed former William Morris agent John Burnham. Meanwhile, the incident enhanced Clint's reputation as a director who protected his crew and maintained professional standards. After the Morrison incident, everyone knew that working on a Clint Eastwood film meant being treated with respect, recalled production designer Henry Bumstead. Actors knew they had to be professional, or they'd be gone. The story also became a teaching moment throughout Hollywood about the importance of treating crew members with dignity. Film schools started using the Morrison story as an example of how not to behave on set, explained USC cinema professor Drew Casper. It showed students that talent without respect for others is worthless. But perhaps the most lasting impact was on Jack Green himself, who went on to work on several more Clint Eastwood films and became one of the most sought-after cinematographers in the industry. What Clint did that day wasn't just defending me personally, Green reflected years later. He was defending the idea that everyone who contributes to making a film deserves respect and professional treatment. Bradley Morrison learned too late that in this business, your reputation for how you treat people matters more than your talent. And once you get a reputation for being disrespectful to crew, that reputation follows you everywhere. In 2005, 17 years after the incident, Bradley Morrison was working as a drama teacher at a community college in Oregon. A film student asked him about his early Hollywood career and what had ended it. His response revealed both his regret and his understanding of what had actually happened that day in the Sierra Nevada mountains. "I thought being successful meant I could treat people however I wanted. I thought crew members were there to serve me instead of understanding that we were all there to serve the story. Clint Eastwood taught me that respect isn't something you get because of your position. It's something you earn through your behavior. And once you lose it, especially in front of people you've disrespected, it's almost impossible to get back. I destroyed my own career by forgetting that movies are made by teams of dedicated professionals, not by spoiled actors who think they're more important than everyone else." September 22, 1988. A young actor thought his rising fame gave him the right to disrespect the hard-working people who make movies possible. By evening, his career was over, and everyone in Hollywood had learned a lesson about the difference between temporary success and lasting respect. Bradley Morrison discovered too late that some behavior reveals character flaws that no amount of talent can overcome, and that when you disrespect craftsmen and artists in front of a legend who understands the value of their work, you face consequences that extend far beyond one film set. Clint Eastwood proved that day that real directors don't just protect their vision. They protect their. Some careers end because of bad luck. Others end because of bad choices. Morrison's career ended because he chose to reveal who he really was when he thought no one important was watching. But someone important was always watching. Someone who understood that how you treat the people who help you succeed says everything about whether you deserve that success. The lesson was harsh but necessary, and it was delivered by someone who had earned the right to teach it through decades of treating every crew member with the respect they deserved. That's what legends do. They defend the people who make legends possible, and they make sure that people who don't understand that lesson learn it permanently, even if learning it costs them everything, especially then, because some values are worth protecting, and some people are worth defending, even when defending them means ending the career of someone who forgot both truths. The craftsmen and artists won that day, as they should have, as they always do when someone like Clint Eastwood is watching, and ensuring that respect flows in all directions, not just upward to the stars, but downward to the people who make the stars shine. That's the difference between a professional and a legend. Professionals protect their own interests. Legends protect everyone's dignity. Bradley Morrison learned that difference too late to save his career, but just in time to understand why some people become legends, and others become warnings about what happens when you forget that everyone matters. Everyone.